stepping through off the window, good. Stepping through the raindrops and the finish on the right hand.
And then gets going the Boomers way with back-to-back threes. The Boomers, a WNBL chance.
Sunday hoops, and it feels like finals action already. The season series between these two is up for grabs at the Boombox, and it's a Victorian showdown. Welcome all for the Melbourne Boomers and the Bendigo Spirit. Liam Ellison here alongside me is basketball legend and WNBL championship coach Carrie Graff. Carrie, welcome. This one shapes as a fitting end to what's been a simply awesome round 13.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, overtime game on Wednesday night, 2 games that go down to the wire on Saturday night, and I expect the same to happen here today.
Absolutely. It was a terrific game last night. We'll get to that in just a moment. Of course, today is a big milestone for Ali Wilson of the Bendigo Spirit. 200 games she's notched up. A career that started in 2010 with the Adelaide Lightning, now in her second year with the Bendigo Spirit and going great guns.
She's got such a package to her game. She's a beautiful athlete. She's quick. She can hit a deep three. She can get downhill and get on the rim. She's really evolved, and she's been around the league for so long, but she's not even 30 years old. And you know, her team will be playing hard for her today in a milestone game.
2-time WNBL champion Ali Wilson, 2014 Rookie of the Year, and who knows, with the way the Spirit are travelling, could be in the mix for a 3rd championship come season's end. Of course, last night's game as well at John Cain Arena. What a moment. We've got to talk about it, Carrie. Obviously, a cruel blow to Lauren Jackson in the opening minutes, but still a great night for basketball.
Yeah, it was. It was, you know, a record-breaking crowd. Yeah, a regular season game. It wasn't a championship game or a final. Huge to see for women's basketball and for the history of WNBL, but absolutely devastating for the GOAT, for her to be a part of this game and lead the way. And so many fans came to watch her play. But tell you what, she went down in the first 30 seconds, and did both of these teams put on a show of women's basketball. It was a momentous game.
They really did. So many of the fans did come out to pay homage to the efforts of Lauren Jackson, but what they did get, as you said, Carrie, was an outstanding game. Tiana Mangakahi especially was terrific in the winning free throw down the stretch. And let's not forget that Kayla Thornton game winner that nearly went down, Carrie.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, the beauty of all these WNBL games is you've got players that can make big shots, whether they're a post player, perimeter player. You know, you never know where a great shot's coming from, and this one was an absolute ripper. There's no question that every person in John Cain Arena last night was on the edge of their seats.
That means that Southside have dropped from top spot as well. It seems like we've got a different ladder leader just about every day at the moment, Carrie.
And that, again, that just speaks to the depth of quality of the talent of the teams in the WNBL. On any given night, one of those bottom teams can create an upset in a close one. You know, games like this, head-to-head, Towns will jump from 3rd to top and could be knocked off top spot today. It's just a jungle up there in that top 5, and anything could happen.
Quite remarkable, the streak 5 pulled off 7 on the trot to sit top of the table. I mean, if Melbourne win today, they'll re-jump them again with head-to-head.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's on the line today. It's those head-to-head clashes that are critical come finals. You know, you play every team 3 times. It's 1-1 apiece for these two teams. We see the starting lineups for Melbourne Boomers. They're without Mia Murray, who's out with a foot injury. We know their captain Tess Madgen is out with her knee injury, but the guard play today is going to be sensational. Christy Wallace in unbelievable form. Tiff Mitchell, what a star she is. And young Mila Goodchild has come in and done a great job. And of course, Kayla George, how can we not talk about a starting lineup in the Melbourne Boomers? Her leadership, her skill, her ability to play outside as a big is huge for them.
Yeah, just awesome. 3 of the top 10 scorers are Boomers. The Spirit, meanwhile, of course, well, they boast the number 5 scorer in Annalie Maley. Starters on your screen now.
Yeah, you know, Ali Wilson, huge for her 200th game, as we mentioned. Alicia Froling into the starting lineup, and she's been more than respectable, having to absorb more minutes with the hamstring injury to the champion Kelsey Griffin. Big key for, there's no question, big key for Melbourne Boomers today is how do you handle Annalie Maley? How do you keep her off the glass? You know, say lock her down. Easier said than done. She averages a double-double. And if we look back, you know, these teams have played each other twice in the last 4 weeks. When Maley was held, the result went Melbourne's way.
Certainly, of course, some big signings as well in the week that's been. Tiffany Mitchell has gone to the Minnesota Lynx of the WNBA, and a big congrats to Kayla George, who returns to the association for the first time in 5 years. And really well earned. When you look at the season she's put together at this level, Carrie, it's been remarkable.
Yeah, and particularly now that she's a new mum, that she's playing some of her best basketball of her career. In speaking to Chris Lucas, he's just so impressed by her leadership, let alone her pure basketball talent, but her leadership, her maturity. She knows how to win. She's been part of championships, wins with Townsville. She helped lead this team to the championship last year. Credit to her to be back in the WNBA.
She's absolutely firing on cue, finds Wallace and the foul call. So the Boomers will head to the line.
This is going to be a challenge for, both teams have guards that can get downhill and get on the rim. Christy Wallace showing there her ability, her quicks.
George.
Cutting action, great job off, moving off the post play. Kayla George is such a great feeder. She just kept the ball on her chin there, waited for cutters, waited for spot shooters, and finds Wally cutting to the rim hard.
Having a career year for this Melbourne lineup under Chris Lucas, and goes 2 of 2 at the line. Last time these two met was a fortnight ago, and Bendigo prevailed 81-76. Outscoring Melbourne by 11 points in the final quarter to secure that victory. All without Kelsey Griffin, mind you. Wilson for 3.
That lady, speak about veterans and talent. Kelly Wilson's going to be big for the Bendigo Spirit today, lead her team. She shot the ball exceptionally well in the contest last time against this team.
Wilson Doda, top of the keyway. Denying the handoff was Werung. Here's George, makes it.
She can shoot that one. Mark that down as Kayla George's spot. Anywhere, short corner, medium, long corner. She's just money from those positions.
Bailey inside the key. Hook shot, no good. Wallace. Assessing options ahead. Now Goodchild down low. Nice feed. Nelson Adoda.
Yeah, you see there the undersized Bendigo Spirit looking to full three-quarter and full front, the low post there, bringing help late, but excellent feed from the perimeter. You get an easy one for Adoda on the rim.
Maley finds Werung. Back on the perimeter. Single digits on the shot clock. Froling with the pick. Wilson tried to release Froling and tied up.
Yeah, the rotation and the help defense from the Melbourne Boomers early on. He's on song, rotating early and on time. Get some help on that roll down on the ball screen action.
Wilson inbounds to Froling. Couldn't get through the two Melbourne bigs, but fumbling was Nelson Adoda. Bendigo, second chance. Wilson will slow it up. Here's Werung. Driving hard to the rack. Froling crashes the glass. With Wallace first to it. And a collision. Call favouring Melbourne.
Interesting here, strategically, when a star player like Annalee Maley, a player that can have so much impact on the game, gets an early foul, do you automatically go at her? Do you test the referee's whistle early? Do you make her defend early?
Tiff Mitchell contested 2. And Maley muscles down the rebound. The league leader in that respect. Froling with position. Maley collects it. Now they'll opt out via Wilson. The all-time leading games player in the league, and she'll head to the line.
Yeah, you can see Kelly Wilson, veteran, smart point guard, controlling tempo for her team. She could have taken an early 3 earlier on. Here she sets it up, calls for the ball screen action, rejects that, likes her chances against the young Mila Goodchild, but gets herself to the free throw line. Kelly Wilson
making on the first. Now leading the league in assists as well per game. 6.5 times per contest.
81% free throw career shooter, Kelly Wilson.
Just missing on the second.
Apologies to Kel.
Here's Werung. 5 seconds. Wilson down low. Nice find. Froling on the O-glass. Just falls out.
Great effort. Look, she's got a great left hand now. Uses it well. Unfortunately, she couldn't get that finish. A great feed inside.
Bendigo have had some looks here. Still scoreless. Early days. Wow. Slicing through. Nelson Adoda. Another chance for her. And Mitchell finishes it off.
Wow, she's pretty to watch. Her agility is phenomenal. Hop, step, change direction. Difficult interior to guard.
Wilson. Now Werung. Maley for 3. Not that time. Still searching for their first field goal.
And they see a timeout coming pretty shortly from Coach Kerry Amer. Momentum clearly with the Melbourne Boomers on their home turf.
Maley gets it ahead. Here's Wilson. Closed off by the Boomers. George defending ball for Melbourne. Bendigo needs some movement. Maley puts it on the deck. Now Kelly Wilson, got to make the move. Down low, rolling off the window.
Tough finish in traffic. Rolling, Alicia Froling, excellent finish.
George. Now Mitchell. 5 for 3 and it counts. One to come at the line for Tiff Mitchell.
Kelly Wilson grabs her head, not happy with that. Nudged. Create a 4-point play potentially for Tiff Mitchell. Let's see the replay.
Looking a little bit ginger as well, maybe. Slight ankle twist, looks to be okay. So to convert the 4-point play.
I'm going to read paper down here, guys.
Mitchell, league leading scorer. Just under 20 points per game. And she makes a great start here for Melbourne.
Yeah, excellent free throw shooter. She's got so many tools in her offensive kit. Hits the three, can pull up on the mid-range, can get in the lane. Great shooting technique. We see a little...
4 minutes gone, first quarter. Lavey inserted into the action, as is Megan McKay. Wilson, good child with the hand in, and the foul call.
We've seen Melbourne Boomers switching. They don't mind if they're getting mismatches at the moment, and they're managing to get away with that. We saw Christy Wallace switched onto the post play at 3-quarter fronting, but they're not getting burnt by it so far. It seems to be tactically working for them.
Christy Wallace with the rock for Melbourne. Defense from the Boomers has been stellar here early. Nelson Adoda, nice finds. Wallace with the cut.
Yeah, clearly strategic play here for the Melbourne Boomers, using their post ability to pass from that low post position, get cutters running off them, diving to the rim. We've seen Christy Wallace open up with 4 points so far on that.
So timeout on the floor. This one brought to you by CTM Sport. If you're considering travelling interstate with your basketball team, consider CTM Sport for a competitive, innovative and customised travel solution that puts your team on top. Visit ctmsport.com.au to learn more. So the 14-3 start for the Boomers here. 5 of 9 from the field. Bendigo, 1 of 8. Has defence been a factor in your mind, Carrie?
Yeah, look, I think it has. Certainly Melbourne Boomers' ability to rotate on time and early has put Bendigo under pressure when the ball's gone inside. We saw Alicia Froling finish under duress in there, but I think defensively their focus is on the money. They're switching and not mind switching, 3-quarter fronting the post and coming to help. And I'm sure Coach Kennedy Kariyama here will look to, just adjust. They've been hurt a little bit on some cut action from Christy Wallace, tidy that up a little bit. But Melbourne Boomers, boy, they're playing, poised at both ends of the floor. Defence, like I said, their rotations defensively are on the money.
Great start for Tiff Mitchell in this one. Already 6 points on the board. Dominating once again this season. Star import for the Boomers. Season series up for grabs this afternoon and crucial for tiebreaker purposes come finals. Bendigo having won the most recent matchup. Melbourne prevailing in early January. Here we go, back underway. Wilson has McKay with a pick. Wallace retains defensive position. Into the corner, Mitchell was there. Stays with the spirit.
Not a lot of offensive movement for the Bendigo Spirit. It's allowing Melbourne Boomers to sit in the gaps, get their rotations early.
Wilson has space to fire and drains it.
Much needed 3-pointer for her team. Kelly Wilson comes up big when they need it.
Much needed indeed. Trims that margin back. Wallace and Lavey. Nelson Adoda gets around Wilson. Nice move.
Yeah, movement, cutting action, handoff action. Working exceptionally well for the Melbourne Boomers.
Shooting just under 70% from the field on the season, and Ali Wilson for 3.
200 gamer, thank you very much.
Back-to-back triples for the Spirit. In and out move from Wallace, pulls up, that's crisp.
Yeah, talented athlete, Christy Wallace. Comes straight back with the answer, as does Maley. Can't get the finish.
To the free throw line for 2. Emily Maley, first in rebounding, top 5 in scoring, reigning MVP.
Yeah, she's just involved. She finds a way to get involved in everything. Sets a standard from her rebounding and possession play, and from there, for her, good things come. She gets put back. She comes up with big plays to create transition opportunities for her team. She's a player that sets the effort standard that every coach wants a player on their team, like Annalee Maley.
Real on-court leader for this Bendigo team, and she takes care of business at the line. Anita Davidson in the first minutes this afternoon. Back to 7 points the margin. Wallace retrieves the feed from George. Not that time. Now Maley. Gets around George, probing inside the keyway. Backs it out.
Bendigo Spirit had clearly addressed some of that cutting action off the post players. Made a much tougher shot for Christy Wallace on that last play. Jamming the low post down there. Force of travel from Megan McKay.
Defense again from the Boomers.
Swarming defense. Anything that comes into the block, they're on the money. They're doubling. They're three-quarter fronting. They're making it difficult for any of those interior catches for the Bendigo Spirit.
Now Christy Wallace. They extend the lead on the other end. Mitchell has Werung defending. She goes under, makes him pay.
Wow. I mean, I don't know how you defend that. That is just, she is just classy. Gets up quickly, makes shots over people.
Werung out to the corner. Maley no good on the 3. George on defensive glass. Wallace assessing. Here is George on the perimeter. Such a strength of her game. On the low block is Davidson, working on Werung. Won't go.
Tessa Lavey, happy to control tempo here with her team. Let's get a half-court set. Let's make them defend us. A bit more movement offensively now for the Bendigo Spirit. Some staggered screen action.
Lavey hands off to her benchmate, McKay. Hands into Davidson and the foul call.
Yeah, some good movement there by Bendigo Spirit. They've clearly gone away from their little more stagnant, spaced offense where they're just running seam screens. Now they've gone to some movement, then to finish in the ball screen action. Tessa Lavey was happy to give up the open 3 to extract something else, and extracts a foul.
Great 1-2 punch straight off the bench, really, Tessa Lavey and Megan McKay.
Yeah, when you think of the experience, Tessa Lavey, Olympian, veteran of the WNBL, and she comes in as a backup. It's pretty impressive. Nice depth to have.
Certainly is. Froling finds Lavey. 8 seconds. Abby Werung. What a great season shooting beyond the arc. Wilson runs straight into Wallace. Another stop for the Boomers. Here's Mitchell. Wallace drives right at Lavey. And George a second chance. She'll go straight away for 2.
Short corner, Kayla George. Consider that money. Both teams pushing tempo a little bit now. Couldn't quite buy the transition baskets.
Perfect start from the field for Kayla George. The Boomers shooting under 60% now. Werung. Bendigo on the back foot at the moment. Kicks it out to Lavey. Here's the 3 for Froling.
Wow. You can shoot the three-pointer with her left hand now as well. Didn't quite go, but looked good.
Far off is George. The fadeaway too.
Signature for her. Couple of dribbles in, leans off it, step away. Tough to defend. She's got great length. She creates space.
Mid-range game is on point at the moment. Good child with a stop.
Gosh, Melbourne Boomers defense is swarming.
Here's George for 3 and makes it.
We may see another timeout coming. Coaches don't often like to burn 2 in the first quarter, but momentum is definitely on the side of the home team here, the Melbourne Boomers.
Taylor Ortlup inserted into the action for Chris Lucas's team, defending Wilson. Here's Werung. She'll step into a deep triple.
Timely three-pointer, much needed by the Bendigo Spirit.
George. So a minute to go now in the first. Mitchell spinning on Werung. Davidson inside. Good the second time. 15-point lead to the Boomers. Ortlup and Wilson. Werung gets around Mitchell. Floaters off. Now Wallace can launch an offensive for the Boomers. 2-on-2. George. Back inside. They'll reset. Plenty of time on the shot clock. George really found Davidson.
The Melbourne Boomers offensively, they find each other when anything goes in the interior. If there's a feed to the post or a penetration, they've got cutters to find for easy shots.
Shot clock off. 5 seconds. Abby Werung. Mitchell with the steal. Half-court heave to finish the first. And that'll do it. So a 15-point lead after 10 minutes of action to the Melbourne Boomers in Ascension, Carrie Graff.
Yeah, they are. It's all stemmed from their defence. Their defensive intensity is spot on. Their spacing is amazing, and their rotations are timely and on time. There's been not much easy for the Bendigo Spirit. You know, they've hit a couple of open deep threes, but boy, the Melbourne Boomers are playing team defence. They know what their systems are. They know what their action is. We see rotation hard and early, and then they've got a plethora of players that can make big shots. Tiff Mitchell with a massive three-pointer and one. But this, for the Melbourne Boomers, will need to be addressed by the Bendigo Spirit coming out of this quarter. Their ability to cut off feeders in the low post, their ability to cut off penetrations and find easy scores, that must be addressed by this Bendigo Spirit team. Almost 30 points in a quarter. The coach will not be happy with that as a defensive attack.
Chris Lucas, on the meanwhile, will be very pleased. Held Bendigo to 4 of 14 shooting in the ball game. Melbourne, 12 of 20. Offense has been pumping for them. George leads the way with 9. Tiff Mitchell, 8 points and 3 boards as well. And you can see no surprises there. Numbers strongly favouring the home side.
Yeah, absolutely. That rebound count, Melbourne Boomers will be happy with that. But, you know, they're shooting the ball at such a good clip. And I wouldn't say Bendigo's defence hasn't been terrible. There's some adjustments they've got to make. But the Melbourne Boomers are playing offensively as a team, moving the ball, athletes are moving. They're hard to defend. You know, they're playing. Coach Lucas has got to be happy with this. Having said that, you know, they had a big lead a couple of weeks ago when they played. They had a massive lead. Bendigo made a run, so they'll be alert to that. But a 15-point lead after one quarter, that's pretty impressive.
They sure did. It got up to about 15 points at one stage, favouring the Boomers in the second quarter. If it wasn't for the three-point shooting of Abby Werung in that particular contest, the Bendigo Spirit may have been out of it. So certainly plenty to play out here in the remaining 3 quarters. Second quarter just about underway. Ortlup will remain out there as well for the Boomers, joining the team in the last fortnight. Spent time with the Adelaide Lightning last season. Good addition off the bench for the Melbourne Boomers, who continue to build on their depth.
Yeah, they've got, you know, super depth. I mean, obviously been hit by an injury. You know, leader and star and veteran Opal's captain Tess Madgen out for the season with injury. Mia Murray, who was in career form, was unbelievable. She's out with foot injury, so they're 2 big spots to fill for them. Similarly for the Bendigo Spirit, you know, they've been without KG. They beat this team without KG. Their superstar veteran. You know, both teams hit by injury, but Melbourne certainly have wonderful depth.
Wallace, hand off to Ortlup. Nelson Adota down low. Froling trying to deny. And the foul call against Nelson Adota.
Offensive hook deems the referee. Nice physical play there by Alicia Froling. Great start defensively to this second quarter. That's what you need, people stepping up, making plays. Big defensive play there to draw a foul.
Wilson. Good child back out there for Melbourne. Molly Wilson picks it up. Moving it around the perimeter of the Spirit. Maley, mid-range 2.
They need her to step up big. They've got to just chip away at this lead.
Again, they look to feed inside. Ortlup for 3. Long rebound, favours Goodchild. feeding their big at the moment. The Boomers and Goodchild. This time, she makes the triple.
Wow, that looked like a passing drill, a post-passing drill. Let's feed the post, spit it back out to the open shooters. Melbourne Boomers know their sets. They know how Bendigo are defending them. They know where the open player is. Executing phenomenally at the moment.
And Goodchild has been executing phenomenally from 3 all season, as we know. Foul call from the ref. Gets it out to an 18-point lead, that last shot.
Massive early lead for this Melbourne Boomers team. Big challenge for the Bendigo Spirit. Can they claw this one back, going to half-time with some momentum?
Obviously, we cited the last time these two teams played and Bendigo came from behind, but also their last outing too, down by 20 at three-quarter time against the Lynx. They got it back to 2. Finally falling by 4. Froling on the spin, no good.
I'm sure that's something they'd like to address, you know. I mean, not to say you can always come back. We always say if you get down 20, you can get up 20, but it's tough to battle from behind constantly.
Werung. Fresh 14 for Bendigo. Down low, Froling. Davidson defending. Again, it's a late shot clock situation for Bendigo. Werung can't get him out of jail. Maley, though, in the O-glass. Battling hard. And Wallace picks it up for Melbourne.
Melbourne swarming there. You know, 2 bodies on Annalie Maley on the glass. Half-court man-to-man defence is on song. They're in the right spots, right gaps as Wallace
Just keeps it in the front court. Did really well in the end. Chaotic. Sees Ortlop tap it forward. Melbourne nearly lost it. And now the bucket.
Wow. This could be a long night for the Bendigo Spirit, but they've got enough on their group to get on a roll. They've got people who can shoot it right now. They're a little stagnant offensively. Melbourne's defensive pressure is causing all sorts. As Wilson says, not quite from the 3-point line.
Maley fighting hard. And it goes the way of Melbourne. You just feel like that last play was a real momentum play. Bendigo looked like they were going to be in for a transition too.
Yeah, they just find ways right now. Melbourne are all over everything. Defensively, offensively, they're executing and making shots. But boy, sometimes it's hard to say to a team, what do we do here? This team are playing exceptionally well. You know, Bendigo Spirit are taking good shots, wide open perimeter shots. They haven't dropped. When the ball goes inside, there's loads of pressure in there. Double teams, quick rotations.
Ortlop from the top, a little short. Wilson gets it forward. And Froling in transition. There's the easy 2 for the Bendigo Spirit. And a timeout on the floor. It is back to an 18-point margin. The Boomers well in ascension, and this timeout brought to you by Cygnett. To stay connected with the latest WNBL news and social highlights, keep your favourite tech charged up at home or on the go with Cygnett's extensive range of products and accessories. A big thanks to Cygnett for powering the WNBL with high-quality tech this season. Explore their range at cygnett.com. A lot to talk about for Kennedy Kariyama and his Bendigo Spirit team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Melbourne Boomers are shooting the ball at 60% from the field. Phenomenal. So it's not disastrous defence. I mean, there's a few things that he'll want to tidy up. I think they tried to address the cutting action that was hurting them early in that first quarter. But, you know, the tough thing with Melbourne Boomers is once some of those players get their eye in, it's good night. You know, Tiff Mitchell gets her eye in. Kayla George is, you know, had short corner shot after short corner shot. You know, those are some of the things you need to tidy up. But sometimes you just got to say, we've got to weather the storm. If they're making big shots over us, that's okay. If we've got defensive breakdown, that's a problem, and we need to address it. Are we going to do something differently? Let's see what coach has got coming out of this timeout. Do they change something defensively? You see the brains trust there of the Melbourne Boomers assistant coach, the Opals legend Christy Harrow, 4-time Olympian, WNBA champion and MVP and All-Star. Great to see her in the coaching ranks.
Coaching against the club at which really she made such an impact, Bendigo.
She and her dad and obviously and Kelsey Griffin there won championships with them, as did Kelly Wilson.
Griffin, of course, watching on today again for Bendigo. Certainly missing the exploits of their star skipper. Here's Mitchell. Working on Wilson. They lost her footing. George thought about the triple. There's the contested 2. Bendigo with a stop.
Much better intensity defensively, saw loads more pressure on the feeders. Then they can get out and run. Then they can get some easier buckets.
Haley just missing on the layup.
Coach will be happier with the intent defensively.
George happy to show some patience. Foul call against Davidson.
Another little. You need some of those plays when you're chasing some momentum. Can you get something done defensively? Get out and run. Get a couple of cheap buckets. Another momentum swinging play. Suckering a foul. You need to be able to string some of those things back to back to get a run. Can they get a little 8-0 run here?
Second personal for Panina Davidson. Bendigo now 5 of 20 from the field. Haley finds the 200 gamer in Wilson. Wardlop stays with Kelly Wilson. Werung for 3, makes it. She had all the answers last time these two played from that very spot.
Now they've got to try and string together a couple of stops. Can they show the same defensive intensity, see if they can make anything that the Melbourne Boomers get under duress?
As George fires straight back.
And that wasn't under duress. You know, that's what the great teams do. You know, you make a little momentum run, a mini run, and they just come straight back at you. Dagger in the heart.
Now Wilson, extra pass. Werung again for 3. Just short. George with the rebound. Ortlook set the play for the Boomers. She'll fire for 3. Wow. First points of the ball game for Taylor Ortlook. Melbourne have all the answers. Werung trying to make something happen for the Spirit.
Yeah, Melbourne Boomers have just got all the answers right now. They're hitting outside shots. They find a way to get the ball inside, and they've got great cut action off anything that goes in. You go under right now, anything with the Melbourne Boomers, and they're going to light you up.
Ortlook will take a break. Nice 8-minute shift for her off the pine. Making an impact straight away for this squad. Second appearance for the Boomers since signing. Here's Ali Wilson. Triple hits the back heel. Maley is infringed.
You know, one of the differences there, Ali Wilson shoots a contested 3 overhand with everyone else stagnant. Makes it pretty easy for the defensive team to block out and get a stop if you miss it. You know, look at the other end. There's a lot more movement with the Melbourne Boomers when they are shooting 3-pointers. There tends to be a bit more movement as well.
So at the line, Annalie Maley. He makes on the first. .76% free throw shooter on the season. And the second one, no good.
He hasn't got a field goal yet, Maley. They need her to step up.
0 of 6 so far this evening. Wallace to Brown, just couldn't keep it in bounds.
Coach Chris Lucas going deep into his benches. Maley tries the corner 3, falls short.
And to go back in defense. So George can set. 20 points already the lead for the Boomers. Only halfway through the second quarter. Mitchell off the dribble, takes on Wilson, goes straight at her for the bucket.
She just makes it look so easy. Ali Wilson's no slouch defensively or athletically. Tiff Mitchell just makes her look like a child that she can just beat up and go past. What a classy player is Tiff Mitchell. Her ability to get to the rim.
Such a joy to watch. Up to 10 points in the ball game. One of the MVP candidates in the league, no doubt about that. Perhaps her chances only hampered by the fact her teammates Kayla George.
Yeah, I mean, it's always that balanced approach, isn't it? You play with other great players. You're in a great situation to win championships year in, year out, you know, but winning MVPs over championships, I know what most players would prefer over the length of their career. Of course, they all love individual accolades, but I'm sure if you asked any of them what they'd prefer, and the majority would say championships any day, particularly if you've grown up in a team sport. But yeah, tough one when you're stealing votes from each other. Makes it hard, but certainly makes a championship run a whole lot more fun.
Yes, no doubt that will be her focus. Of course, she's 1 of 1 so far in WNBL seasons. Maybe she can make it 2 of 2 the way this team is travelling at the moment. 22 points in the lead, 60% from the field. They lead the rebounding battle as well, quite comfortably. Melbourne, 20-12. There you go.
They've been clinical offensively and defensively. They just, they look like a team that knows what each other are doing. They know where to be defensively. They know what offense to run and when to run it. We see the great Christy Harrower giving Christy Wallace some tips on what to play now, what to run next, perhaps.
Fantastic for Wallace to be under the tutelage of Harrower.
Yeah, definitely. Players developing their points guard skills, to hear from one of the greats who evolved into an exceptional floor leader.
Into Levy. Leading the floor for the Spirit. Here's Werung. Has one dribble so far this afternoon and the turnover. So Mitchell, can she turn and go? Has Wilson ahead. Backs it out. Good child for three.
Confidence the Melbourne Boomers are shooting the ball with. They're on their home court. They know these rims. They know where their shooters are. And their shooters have the green light to shoot the open three.
Helps when you go 6 of 8 from 3, the Boomers.
They're feeling it.
Good child. One of the reasons why she's 2 of 2. Here's Wilson inside the arc. Struggling to make a bucket at the moment. 6 field goals dropped in this game for Bendigo.
And they haven't taken bad shots generally. It's just, they can't find the bottom of the net. They haven't had any wide open easies inside, but they've definitely made an adjustment on that action when the ball's fed to the post at the low post or the high post and they cut off it, as we see Maley get to the rim.
So she'll head back to the free-throw line, her 3rd trip there this afternoon. She's 3 of 4 from the line.
Kept good space, Boomers, but hands in late.
It was last time that these two played as well. It was a slow first half for Annalie Maley. Before then, she really, dominated in the second to lead Bendigo home. So in some ways, some similarities here, but the margin much more in favour of Melbourne at 24.
Yeah, when you're on someone else's turf too, that crowd, you got to try and take the crowd out of it. Once a team like Melbourne get lit up, get the 3 rolling, it's tough to claw back.
Here's George. Maley defending. Mitchell off the dribble, gets around 2.
It's like the seas part when she gets in the lane, but I don't know how else to describe how clever she is at creating space in the lane with her dribble and with her agility.
So far this afternoon, Bendigo just haven't been able to stop her going downhill. Werung tries to take Mitchell off the dribble. Again, every movement so difficult for Bendigo on this offense. Wilson will head to the free-throw line.
Yeah, that Melbourne are doing just a great job. They just collapse in, plug in defensively. You saw the action here, ball screen. Now they have 3-4 players digging at the ball, make it tough. They take away the passing lanes, they make your shot difficult.
Already one of the best offensive teams in the league, Melbourne. And to combine it with such defence this afternoon, it's tough to stop. But Bendigo at the moment doing themselves no favours from the free-throw line.
Unusual miss for Ali Wilson. She's an exceptional free-throw shooter. Maybe some nerves in her 200th game.
So now 6 of 10 from the line of the Spirit. Wallace, 3 minutes remaining before the main break. George again at the top. Brown out there as well for the Boomers, off the bench. Down to Mitchell. Wallace with her feet set. Just rattles out.
Tiff Mitchell about to give us some of her low post talent as well, but
Wilson slicing through. And that'll call a timeout on the floor. Back to 23 points the margin. The Boomers really put up the half century already after having 29 on the board at the end of the first. This offense motoring carry, 63% from the field, the Boomers.
Yeah, they're on, they're just, they can't miss at the moment. Inside shots, outside shots, they've got a plethora of people hitting the 3 ball. We saw in that last offensive stanza. Tiff Mitchell liking her chances to post up a smaller opponent, showing that she can do a bit of everything. But yeah, I mean, tough to guard them at the moment. They're just making everything. But and we see here Chris Lucas conscious that, you know, tiny momentum break from Bendigo Spirit, calls a timeout straight away. He wants to keep this margin, keep his team, halt that momentum as soon as he can. He's not going to go into half-time with a timeout in his pocket if he can use one for momentum. So, you know, veteran play by Chris Lucas there to just halt that momentum. It also allows the crowd to get back engaged in the game. Bit of hype, bit of oomph as you come back out for this last 2 minutes going into half-time.
Closing in on his 200th WNBL win as head coach, Chris Lucas. His first season at the helm for the Melbourne Boomers. Let's not forget as well, Melbourne obviously in scintillating form to start this one, but they came into this game 2-3 in their last 5 with some disappointing losses in there, Carrie. Yeah,
absolutely, and you can see them playing to make a point here to me. And they would have watched the games, the last few games of this round. They've seen close contests. They've been wounded in some games where they felt clearly they should have been closing games out, winning those games. I think they're playing with a real determination at the moment. They're focused at both ends of the floor. They're playing each play as a playoff type play, and that's what can happen when you're this talented and you're that focused. You can make a real statement.
The turnover, Bendigo, can they respond? 11 seconds to work with. 2 minutes to make an imprint on this ball game before the halftime break. Wilson switching on as Brown, the fadeaway, and a travel call, says the referee. Nothing going the way of Bendigo.
No, it's often when it's not going your way, it's not going your way. They can't string a few plays together, a couple of errors.
Look, back out there for Melbourne. Mitchell thought about the triple, gets around Froling. Good contest, Wilson. Brown on the follow. And it goes against Lou Brown.
Coach Chris Lucas would be fine with a foul like that. It's an effort foul. You don't mind that from your role players. Getting a foul purely through going after the ball, that's a foul you take any day as a coach.
So we'll walk down for 3 throws. And it will be Annalie Maley to take them.
Yeah, Maley's struggled offensively to get involved in this one. We know she always gets involved with the possession play, but struggled to really get involved offensively. 0 of 7 from the field, 0 of 2 from the three-point line.
Will be in the bonus, the final 2 minutes, a tool that they can use for the Spirit. Here's Wallace. Melbourne in control. George, hand off to Wortlop. Mitchell comes off her shin. Bendigo with the numbers. Maley, nice pass ahead, and Wilson to finish it off. Bendigo, can they roll off a mini run here?
That's what they'd be hoping for. As we see the Melbourne Boomers happy to just chew clock here, play out some of their offensive sets to get movement, and then go back to the well. Cutting action from post feeds. Christy Wallace
converts.
Her speed of cut.
Here's the George passing again.
And the timing, you know, any sniff of a denial when the ball's in Kayla George's hands, any sniff of a denial Christy Wallace gets, she's basket cutting. She's had, you know, I'm going to say she's had 8 points off basket cut action.
And the free throw falls home. So Kayla George up to 3 assists in the ball game as well. One of the league leaders in assists per game, Kayla George at the 5 spot. Wilson assessing and finishes. Much needed for Bendigo. A chance to make it 3.
As you said, Liam, you know, with Melbourne Boomers in bonus here, clearly, tactically, and rightly so, Bendigo Spirit put the ball on the deck. Can you get going downhill at the rim? Get some free throws? And also, can you put some of the Melbourne Boomers players that are on fire in some sort of foul trouble, perhaps?
So the 200 gamer leading the way in the scoring column for Bendigo to bring her tally to 9. Minute to go here in the second. Wallace finds Mitchell on the wing. George hovering for the pick, as is Nelson Adoda. Big screen on Wilson. Mitchell moves it quickly. George for three.
Wow. Melbourne Boomers. I mean, that wasn't poor defence by Bendigo Spirit by any stretch. Ellie Wilson did a great job negotiating. A couple of picks defending the ball handler. But Kayla George from the corner on fire.
Not much you can do about that. Maley. Can Bendigo return fire under the backboard? So now Mitchell for Melbourne. Assessing, working, pulls up for two. Tiff Mitchell dominating this ball game.
Easy money for her. Transition, pull-up jumper at the elbow.
Shot clock just ahead of the game clock for Kelly Wilson. Now to be Ali Wilson for three. Just a little wayward. Froling. Last touch, Bendigo. In fact, jump ball. So it stays with the Spirit. Into Wilson, 7 seconds. Working on Ortlup, finds Maley, slashing, missing on the layup. And that'll do it for the end of the first half. That's a blow for Bendigo. But the Melbourne Boomers have been simply scintillating. Box office stuff at the boombox. They lead by 25 at the halftime break, Carrie Graff.
It's a clinic right now for them. I mean, they are just in the zone at both ends of the floor. Defensively, swarming defense, plugging, packing defense. You know, it's put the Bendigo Spirit in a situation where most shots are contested. And then when they do get a somewhat easy one, we saw them mainly just miss one that should be a make. But offensively at the other end, their ability to cut. Christy Wallace's cut action has been superb. The inside-outside play of the Melbourne Boomers, throw it into their post players who can spit it back out to shooters or pass it into dive cutters. Melbourne Boomers are just putting on a clinic. It's excellent basketball to watch.
They certainly are. It reflects in all the major stats as well. They have been absolutely terrific today, the Melbourne Boomers. Stick with us, second half not too far away. The Boomers could be on track for a big score. To Bendigo have something up their sleeve as well. It's a 25-point ball game. The Boomers 55 lead Bendigo 30 at the half. She'll start the offensive for the Flames. Coming out of nowhere was Woods with the denial.
Great effort. She could have easily given up, but she didn't.
Thornton. Oh, beautiful dish into blitz arms. Shot clock ticks down to 5 now. Mansfield pulls up for a long three. That is massive from Mansfield.
There it is.
Thornton pops it in for the Flyers. Between game clock and shot clock, Talbot for the win. Can't convert. Whittle taps it back in. Bishop holds on to it. It's a monumental victory for the Southside Flyers. She'll get it back from Whittle. A behind the back pass to Talbot.
Oh, I think that'll be in the highlight reel. How good was that?
Can't get it to go. Samuelson pulls the trigger. Still out on the floor. Samuelson. Boom! And they pulled off a close win tonight. Whitcomb, lovely look-away bounce pass to clinch Hoycart.
She is just exceptional, Sammy Whitcomb.
Need a shot up, and it's Atwell, the right person for the job. So Perth's winning ways continue. They have won 7 in a row.
Do not underestimate the power of a good blind. Take this exhausted couch. Now it stands before you. Magnifique. Even this cocktail of dead skin is gracefully waltzing. Da 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 da. DIY blinds. Change the ugly.
We've been wanting to have a baby for about 4 years. We have to travel to Sydney for a week, take time off work. The hardest part is waiting.
1,000 kilometres.
Travel to Sydney, take time off work.
Over and over and over again. These salt-of-the-earth country cops won't give up on their dream.
We're willing to do whatever it takes to bring a child into our lives.
Big Miracles starts Monday after Married.
Gossip Girl here, your one and only source into the scandalous lives of Manhattan's elite. XOXO Gossip Girl.
Get your summer streaming on 9 now.
So baby, in 90 days, we're gonna be husband and wife.
I was with her for 5 days, and then I proposed to her.
She's so eager to be in love, she lets red flags just go.
People say 19-year-old, she's just using you. Maybe she could be.
90 Day Fiancé. Get your summer streaming on 9 now.
Tune in to the WNBL show, dropping weekly during the season and released across your favourite podcast network every Tuesday. Or watch the full vodcast at WNBL.basketbol.
League MVP. I'll never get used to that, by the way. That's a bit strange.
We can always come to you for a great inspirational quote.
Join me, Megan Hustray, and my team of co-hosts, stars across the league, as we talk about everything that's happening on and off the court in the Cygnett WNBL.
Hi Hoopers, I'm Tess Madgen. I'm so excited to be offering virtual masterclasses this school holidays with She Hoops. Starting on the 9th of January at 5:30 p.m. every Monday night. In this 5-week series, we will be delivering a range of basketball skills. I will also take you through a number of mobility skills designed to keep your body active and engaged. And the best part is that it's free. Go to shehoops.com.au to register now and secure your spot.
Did you know that 100% of Aussies want more? More money, more time, more Harry and Meghan? What? That's why the 100 have decided to give you more.
More what?
Well, more Sophie Monk.
OMG. All right. More. OMG.
That's enough. That's enough, Sophie.
OMG.
Yes. I agree. That girl is way too much. Chin up.
The new season of The 100 with more Sophie starts Tuesday after Married on 9.
Do I get a slow-mo shot?
OMG.
It's the biggest WNBL season yet, and superstar Lauren Jackson returns. Turn it up. Don't miss a block, basket, or game winner.
That's not steal the win.
WNBL live on 9 now.
carry gruff to bring it to you, and the Boomers by 25 points at the half. And really, the stats column says it all. They lead in all major stats very significantly.
Yeah, they do, and no one would have predicted this. Melbourne Boomers up 25 at half-time. It's a clinic by them. It's absolutely clinical. Swarming, packing, pressure defence, making big shots offensively, executing. They're on fire as the stats say. We see them dominating every category. You know, for the Bendigo Spirit, how do they turn this around? What changes can they make defensively? You know, they've got to crank the intensity defensively and see if they can make something happen in the start of this third quarter before it gets away from them even further.
Melbourne leading the rebounding column by 10, albeit. But the one thing Bendigo have done pretty well is crash the glass. 7 offensive rebounds, but yet despite that carry, they've only got a solitary point from second chance points.
Yeah, and I think that's it. The packing pressure by Melbourne. Melbourne plug into gaps and make it tough for you. So when you do get a putback, you swarm. There's 3 or 4 people in there. We saw many instances where someone penetrates a key and there's a hand swiping in, 2 people coming to the ball. So Bendigo aren't getting much easy. You know, they've had some open 3-point looks, but anything on the rim is contested, and that's tough. That reflects in the stats. Melbourne, on the other hand, yes, there's been some great contested finishes by some of their star players, but they've found ways to get great inside finishes.
They're led today by their 2 leading scorers, and league leading scorers at that, Kayla George and Tiff Mitchell. Tiff Mitchell has 14 points and 6 boards, and gee, the highlight package she's put together from the first half, pretty stuff.
It is. I mean, look at it. The mid-range jump shot makes it look pretty. Her ability and this just catch and shoot, smooth, contested, hand in your face, and draws a foul. She's agile, she can step back, she can come at you. Just her ability to change direction makes her ability, watch her here, change direction twice, step through, change again. I mean, it's classic. She's a super quick athlete, but she doesn't do that quick. She does it with agility, at a pace that she can read and change gears. She's an unbelievably talented one-on-one athlete.
She's been absolutely exceptional so far today. 14 points. Kayla George leads the way, meanwhile, for the Boomers with 15. Missed just the 1 field goal so far in the contest. 6 of 7 from the field, and perfect from beyond the arc, 3 triples.
Yeah, and I think it's her ability to feed the ball too has been exceptional today. You know, she finds... Christy Wallace has 9 points. 8 of those are from feeds, cutting to the rim off a Kayla George feed.
Only player to play all 20 minutes so far in this contest is Kayla George. So 55, the Boomers lead the Spirit 30. Do they have something up their sleeve, Bendigo, to trim away at this lead? Here we go, second half underway. Wallace just to start things off for the Boomers. Here is George at the low block. Nice find to Goodchild. Retrieves it back. She'll fire for 3 and drops it.
Melbourne Boomers could play blindfolded at the moment. I think they're playing that well. I mean, that one rattled in from Goodchild, but she is a 3-point shooter. Their offensive execution is just getting them the shots they want from the people that they want in the right spots.
3 of 3 now from beyond the arc is Goodchild. Wilson. Maley, skip pass, Werang, corner triple.
They did that. See, now they've got to string together some stops. Can they put 2 or 3 defensive possessions together where they can get a stop, stem the flow of the Melbourne Boomers?
Goodchild for 3 again. Back to back.
Rattles the first one, swishes the second one.
Melbourne's 3-point shooting as a team as well has been outstanding. 9 of 12 now.
Yeah, sometimes as a coach and as players, they'll battle hard out here, but boy, the Melbourne Boomers are a freight train right now.
Rolling again. They miss inside the painted area, Bendigo. Goodchild. Over to George. Mitchell. She'll fire for 3. Finally, a miss for the Boomers.
Ali Wilson got stuck going underneath that pick, gave Mitchell a wide open look.
Maley somehow gets it to go.
Her first field goal of the match so far comes in the first couple of minutes of this third quarter. If she can light up, get some finishes, that might swing things a little Bendigo Spirit's way.
She was 0 of 9 from field at the halftime break. Big bucket there. And now the free throw is good.
And credit to Melbourne Boomers defence. She hasn't shot many wide open shots. Most stuff has been heavily contested.
George contest as well was Look good, just a touch overzealous for the foul call. She is George on the reverse. Smooth move from the skipper.
Yeah, tough matchup for Maley. You know, they're playing, gone small ball here, playing with smaller athletes. She's got the tough matchup on Kayla George. Down in the block. That's going to go George's way most times.
This Boomers offense just keeps motoring. Wilson. Now Werung on the wing. Nelson Ododa picks it off.
Yeah, the length of Ododa on the three-quarter front on the top side.
Mitchell slashing. Good defrolling, but cleaned up by Olivia Nelson Ododa.
Yeah, your star athlete misses. You go collect the crumbs and get yourself a couple of stats. O board and 2.
There's a roll to perfection, Nelson Ododa. Werung fires back for 3. She's having herself a night from beyond the arc, Abby Werung. 12 points all from beyond the arc. Here's George. Mitchell slows it up. 9 seconds, foul call. That's the second on Kelly Wilson.
Try and make something happen for her team so she can create a steal. Get an easy bucket, physical down low on that cross-screen action.
Certainly the right intention. No player with more than 2 personals in this ball game. Sunday afternoon hoops here at the Melbourne Sports Centre. The Boomers absolutely firing so far. Spin move. Crisp from Nelson Ododa.
Does it look like a one-on-one low post clinic? Backed her man in. Checked her shoulders. We see Maley can't find the wide open one, but McKay collects the crumbs and finishes.
Now Mitchell into the corner. Good child off the dribble. Stepped out of bounds.
Got the long close out that time after nailing those 2 threes early to open this third quarter. Kelly Wilson closes her out long, forced her to put it on the floor. Forced a turnover.
Bendigo come into this game having had an 11-day layoff since their last game versus Perth. Melbourne just around 7 days. Is that a factor?
Yeah, look, I think it can. I mean, it can go either way sometimes. Sometimes it's an extended break. You'd think for Bendigo a good one in that it gives them a chance to get extra recovery time for their star, Kelsey Griffin. But, you know, 4 days difference, 7-11. They're both extended breaks. You get a good chance to regather, refresh, maybe look at refining some of your sets, and a long time certainly to prep and scout your opponent.
Great finish through traffic for Abby Werung. Game's leader for Bendigo with 14. Wallace directing traffic. Mitchell has Wilson right there. Down low, Kayla George. Nice move.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's a matchup that's hard. That's a hard matchup for Annalise Maley. The help came way late. Once Kayla George's got her feet in the paint, it's all over. If you're going to come trap her, you've got to come early. Early and hard, jam her up before she can get the ball.
Mitchell keeps it in, did really well. So now George can run point momentarily for the Boomers. Nelson Ododa has McKay defending her. Poked away from the Spirit, but ends up with the Boomers again.
If you're talking about luck, the luck is going. I mean, they're playing exceptionally well, but any little break of luck, it's definitely going Melbourne Boomers' way as we see Maley barrel her way in.
It has been that sort of a game. Just when you think the Spirit are going to get a little mini break, something goes the way of Melbourne as Megan McKay count the bucket. One more to come. There's a little break I like for Bendigo. And Megan McKay.
Good inside-outside action. Gathers herself, balances, fends off, draws a foul.
McKay's had a particularly good last 2 or 3 weeks as well, with Kelsey Griffin out of the lineup.
That she has. She's been, you know, when she sticks to doing what she can do well, she's an excellent finisher down low. She just plays her role. Can she get people open with some screen action, get on the basket, get deep catches? You know, say a little mini run here, but they're still, you know, they can't get this thing under that sort of 25-point margin.
And the free throw just off. George spikes it out. Nelson Ododa forward to Wallace. Gets around McKay. Too easy.
Now it's Verging on showtime now for the Melbourne Boomers.
Just picking their way through the Bendigo defence. 28 points in arrears of the Spirit. Maley no good.
Smart defence by Nelson Adota there. Yeah, kept her hands out, just made Maley shoot over a length.
Poked away from McKay. So now Maley, 2-on-1. George is there for the Boomers. And she'll have to earn it at the free-throw line.
See again, Kayla George, cagey there with Maley. Really showing her I'm going to keep space. I'm going to back away, use my length. I'm not going to give you my body. And then dips the hand in at the end. Melbourne Boomers clearly trying to maintain their defensive space with Maley. When she gets downhill or gets her head down, he's going to back away from her.
Maley has seen this spot 9 times already this afternoon. The 6 makes. And that one won't go.
She's just not having a day of it offensively. She can't buy one. She's frustrated.
And second one falls. So 4.5 remaining in this third quarter. Melbourne's offense. This time, though, the turnover on Maley. Tight against the sideline. Might have been last touch by Maley. Gotta love the hustle, though.
Yeah, she doesn't quit regardless of score or time in the game. That's what the persistent players do. You can't tell if the team's up by 30 or down by 30. They just play at the right tempo, the right speed, the right intent the entire time.
Boomers somehow have increased on their half-time field goal percentage. Made 30 of their 45 shots. George in the corner. Goes again. Unbelievable shooting for the Boomers.
You can literally put a blindfold on half of this Melbourne Boomers team and they'll still make these shots. They are just in the zone.
It was earlier in the season that the Southside Flyers put up 118 on the Bendigo Spirit. And this is somewhat familiar in that everything is dropping. The threes, that's now number 10 for the Boomers. It's a 30-point ball game with a timeout on the floor. This one brought to you by DIY Blinds. To fit out your home with Australian-made designer quality window furnishings at the best prices. Head to DIYblinds.com.au to order your free samples today. What do you think the word's going to be in the huddle right now, Carrie, for Kennedy Kerryama?
I'm going to say I think he's probably feeling like a broken record. He's going to implore, still, stay on the themes that I'm sure he's been talking about. Maintain the defensive intensity. We've got to stay on the boards. And then at some point, too, it's, guys, we've got to just, whether they're in unbelievable form, can we make every shot they have contested? And tough, too, when you can't score at the other end, you can't then press or change your defence. So it's a challenge. Look, he'll start positive. At some point, he's going to look to say, OK, this one is totally cooked. What do I do? Do I nurse some people? Do I play some of the bench? At what point do I actually pull the pin and go, we're done on this one? We got to just put it behind us and go. He might play out this third quarter, but at some point you got to let it go and say, this one's cooked. What value is there in us continuing in it to a certain degree? But having said that, this is a playoff team. They're right in the playoff hunt. They also don't want to just lay down and die too early.
Bendigo are involved in the Seoul game next weekend. Of course, round 14 kicks off. It's a FIBA window, but on Saturday we have Bendigo and Southside. Here's Wilson. Steps into a triple. Mitchell hits the deck, and it goes against Bendigo.
Again, we talk about making your own luck, but Tiff Mitchell gets under that. Again, used her agility. Referees have deemed that McKay got her on the roll down. Tiff Mitchell, smart play. Again, that agility we spoke about, uses it offensively, defensively. Saw her use that agility to negotiate that pick and get her body in a situation where she could engage in that roll down and draw a foul.
It's been such a clinical display from the Boomers this afternoon. Already all 5 starters in double figures.
You talk about championship contenders and teams that can make the right playoff run. We're talking about home court advantage in playoffs, which are huge. We're seeing the Melbourne Boomers here at their home court, the boombox. Big crowd on your back. It's coming up to finals time, and you're in a 30-point blowout against a team that you consider, most people consider, we're a legit championship contender as well.
George with her first miss from 3. Lavey moves it quickly. Werung in the corner. Can't drain it that time. Mitchell Takes it and goes, spinning on Wilson. But waved off. Pretty stuff, but the travel call against Mitchell.
Yeah, sometimes referees is like, come on, let's be like the NBA or the WNBA. Let that one go. That's a it kills the crowd.
Would have had it to, well, it's already been an extensive highlight reel for Tiff Mitchell.
And it's a 30-point ball game,
She's got 14. Bendigo ball. Lavey sees parted. Easy 2 for the Spirit.
You can just pretend you didn't see that one. You're looking somewhere else, referees.
Almost the sole defensive breakdown of the game for Melbourne. Feels like they've been so on point on that end of the floor. Foul call from the referee against the Spirit. Melbourne basketball, fresh 14. They look on their way if things stay on track to complete the season series over Bendigo, which we know is just oh so important, Carrie, given that how tight the 4 is and with head-to-head ramifications.
Yeah, absolutely. One in this, it's obviously getting another win in your win column and a loss to your opponent, but the head-to-head means, if there's any two-way or three-way ties, how many splits, head-to-head splits do you have against the other team in the top 4? And this sets Melbourne up to be in a much better position. Should there be, and the way that top 5, I'm going to call it the 5 teams in the top 4 hunt, anything could happen, and you want to make sure that you're on the better side of those head-to-head splits with as many of those top 4 teams as you can. That gives you that home court advantage. Home court advantage is huge at any time, but in finals, massive. A Melbourne Boomers team will fill this boom box. You have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people on your back in final series. It is a 6th man. To me, it's a 8 to 10 point advantage.
Absolutely. Of course, as we know, they had the championship here on this very floor in front of the home crowd last season. A distinct advantage, no doubt. Wallace crossing around McKay in the finish in traffic.
They cannot miss. Great finish under duress. Not against poor defence.
It's been some offensive display. Lavey. Werung. Again, she starred for the Spirit. And again, it goes against Bendigo.
Mackay again called for the offensive blocking foul. And that ball screen action, they're deeming that she's sitting on the guard defender trying to roll down, impacting their pathway. Nothing can go their way, the Bendigo Spirit.
And to think that, obviously Bendigo without Kelsey Griffin, just a mammoth out for them, but even for the Boomers, no test margin for the remainder of the season. And of course, Mia Murray, who we spoke of off the top, what a crucial piece she's been to add her back into the puzzle as well.
Yeah, massive. We know she's a specialist three-point shooter. She's a great defender, veteran. She was in career best form at the start of the season, so huge for them if they can get her back to add to this.
Had a career high 34 against the Adelaide Lightning as well earlier in the season, did Mia Murray. And as Lavey will head to the free-throw line.
Look, in the effort, there's no question. There hasn't been an effort dip, or they haven't dropped their heads at Bendigo Spirit. They're just playing a team that are in exceptional form.
Perhaps this is the other thing that they've done quite well, Bendigo. We spoke at the halftime break about offensive rebounding. They've got to the free-throw line now 21 times in the contest, Bendigo. But it hurts when you only shoot at 57% as well.
Exactly, and that's one of the, we're saying everything's going right for Melbourne. Nothing's going right for Bendigo. They do, I'm sure what the coach is asking, can we get on the rim? All right, we're not hitting perimeter shots. Can we put the ball on the floor? Can we get downhill? Can we extract some fouls and make free throws? But as you say, Liam, even that, players that are 70 or 80% free throw shooters down in the 50s.
So they split a pair there, the Spirit, to continue that trend. George still yet to take a break in this ball game, Kayla George. Good Childs. Just short on the 3. No, the friendly roll. Sums up the afternoon, Carrie Graff.
It does, just sit it on the rim. If you're the Melbourne Boomer, it'll go in, put it anywhere near the rim. It's not going to go in if you're a Bendigo Spirit player.
Good Child, 5 of 5 from 3. 35 points the margin. Cassidy McLean is checked in for the Spirit. Lavey moves it to the wing, down low, Froling, 3 seconds, got to shoot. And the foul call goes against Davidson, her 4th.
some good one-eye play. Nice patience there. Alicia Froling just working it. Patience.
So Froling to the line. A minute away from the final break here at the Melbourne Sports Centre.
See, Alicia Froling, we've talked about it previously. She's a right-hander. It's changed in the off-season, done a whole lot of work on her left hand. After a wrist injury, she couldn't get any flexion in her right wrist. Really impacted her free throw and her ability to shoot the ball with any sort of arc, and we see her there nail a couple with her left hand. It's a pretty impressive skill to develop.
Certainly is. Interesting to watch how it develops over the coming years. George. Look down low. Davidson, great movement. Easy bucket. And the Boomers have already exceeded their season average before three-quarter time.
Again, their ability to cut and move off the ball, you know. Bendigo got attacking, went doubling in the post. Kayla George, apologies, reads that, dives to the rim, and again they get it, points in the paint from a feed off a post.
Bendigo again, an offensive foul. Feels like they've had a lot of moving screens and closing that area too.
Yeah, they've, and sometimes it's the body type, sometimes it's not adjusting. The referees are calling it that way, and it can also be the talent of the guards of trying to extract that foul, getting tangled up on the body of that roller, and often the natural instinct for referees to call the foul on the big versus the little because there's some sort of contact and it looks mismatched.
First bucket goes down for Rachel Brewster. Levy. Floater off the backboard. That'll do it for the end of three. So the Boomers extend the lead here to 37 points. What a scoreline for Melbourne. 89 on the board already. Held Bendigo to 52. Simply scintillating. They're shooting 69% from the field carry.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. 69% from the field is phenomenal shooting. And they're not getting wide open shots. I mean, these are often contested shots or shots that are highly skilled. A little step back three off the ball screen. Mitchell, we know, can hit anything. Good child, just lit it up early with a couple of threes to really break the game further open. A couple of, highlights for the Bendigo Spirit, but boy, it's been an uphill battle for them. Everything is under duress. Nothing easy for them.
And the Melbourne defence has been the reason why. Really, such a complete performance for Chris Lucas. He'd be very happy with how things are going at the moment. Coach Kennedy Kariyama's team, obviously a lot to talk about. They came into this game 3-2 in their last 5. And of course, the victory over the Boomers without Kelsey Griffin a fortnight ago. At this stage, it is a long way from that result. Here's your major stats, and you can see the Boomers' dominance reflected everywhere. 21 assists, reflecting how well they're moving the ball, and 11 of 16 from three.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable shooting. And then the points in the paint, and that's not just, that's a combination of post play, cut action of their posts, whether they be the high post or the low post, penetrations and finish, their ability to finish inside. Having said that, they've got size advantage. I mean, we've seen a few times the mismatches when Bendigo have gone small ball and Annalee Maley's been matched up on Kayla George. She's just gone down low and posted her up and gone to work. But boy, oh boy, is this a clinic. I mean, the Melbourne Boomers are on track for a 120-point ball game. If they can shoot at that clip, unbelievable. I'm going to pull out the record books because that would be some sort of record.
One to watch. I do know that the season high is 118, was the Southside Flyers. Could be in danger the way they're going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, depends which way the coaches go here. At what point do they, pull the pin on this one and say, we're done? Yes, you want to, you can say momentum. At what point do you rest how many stars we see for the Melbourne Boomers? Wallace and Tiff Mitchell on the bench there. Chris Lucas using some time to rest his big minute plays, not risk injury. Similarly for Coach Kariyama, at what point do you pull it and say, look, a 40-point or 60-point blowout, it's a blowout. At what point do you try and nurse some of those players that are playing big minutes and not risk injury coming into, a big stretch home for the run to the playoffs?
Sophia Lacandro, her first minutes for Bendigo, missing on the three. And further to your point, Kayla George yet to take a break in this ball game. Still out there to start the fourth.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I'm sure sometimes the athletes are like, Coach, I'm fine, let me out here. But at some point, you've got to make that call and say, what's more important to us is the next 3 weeks and obviously playoffs and have everyone fit and healthy. You don't want to risk injury if you can avoid it.
That's right. And of course, as we know, Kayla George is leading the league in minutes played, 37 a night. So this workload certainly familiar to her. There's Davidson, just miscues on the pass. Bendigo ball. Melbourne will retake top spot if they are to keep this W this afternoon. The current tiebreaker over Townsville. Werung. Lacandro. Now to McLean on the wing. Brewster defending. 6 seconds. Feeds Froling. Turnover.
Again, the swarming defence. As the feed came in, they had people packing to the ball. Double verging on triple teaming, plugging in, making it tough to catch it down low. Tough to feed the ball back out if you do catch it.
Davidson with the screen for Ortler. George really set for the triple. Brewster pulls up for 2. Rattles home.
I should sub anyone in. They could sub in their physiotherapist right now that would come in to make a shot. Goodness me, they are in fine shooting form.
McLean now for 3. One back for Bendigo. 7th triple for the Spirit. Now George. But against the handoff, good child. Denied by Werung. Here's Brewster. Flips it up with the left hand. Good defense from McLean. So Bendigo now, their final 4 games, all against top 5 teams.
Yeah, they've got a brutal run home. Yeah, and that's where at this point too, it's this one's done. At what point do you totally call it? Having said that, they haven't got a whole lot left on their bench with Kelsey Griffin out and some other younger players. But yeah, tough run home for them. 4 against the top 4. They've got Southside again. They've got Townsville twice, and they're at Perth. So big for them. You know, this loss dips them, keeps them down in that 4-5. You know, it's going to be a big race, I think, between them and Perth now, potentially.
George for 3. Everything dropping for the Boomers. Kayla George has got 27, and Melbourne have 94.
It's party time for the Melbourne Boomers now. Coach Chris Lucas on that 3, a celebration. Kayla George, come and take a seat next to me.
Time out on the floor, and this one's brought to you by Aussie Hoops. It's the perfect introduction to the world of basketball for kids aged 5 to 10 years. Aussie Hoop Centres nearby are taking registrations for Term 1 right now, whether your little one is an eager basketball fan or simply looking to get involved, get active, make some friends. Aussie Hoops is the perfect way to do that. Register now and get ready to hit the hoops. And of course, no time out in deep. Play on we go. Wallace infringed. 2 shots coming up.
Coach Lucas will tell Kayla George to ice up now. No need to inject her back into this game. Let her cool down. But having said that, veteran players in form sometimes come down and chat to the coach and say, Coach, put me back in.
Only 4 of 4 from the line today, Melbourne. Barely seen the charity stripe.
Yeah, they haven't needed to because they've made so many shots.
Yeah. That's right. They've just been scintillating from the field and remain perfect. Approaching the tunnel. Still 7 minutes remaining in the ball game. Here's Wilson. Werung cutting hard. Here's Maley. Baseline. Melbourne again with a stop. Hasn't been Annalie Maley's day from the field.
Melbourne, you know, nearly 40 points up, and they're still playing with the same defensive intensity. You know, they made some subs, got in their bench. You know, again, did she take her blindfold off or did she leave it on? My goodness me, they cannot miss.
Olivia Nelson-Doda's shot selection at the 4 and 5 position carry has got to be up there. I mean, shooting just under 70% from the field on the season. Feels like she only ever takes good shots.
Yeah, and we see that, you know, shoots within her range. She's poised when she's looking to execute from the one-on-one in a block situation. She's got great length. That's the thing. She's poised and she's got length. So, you know, she's playing some of these undersized posts. When she puts those arms up, she's, you know, she's more like a 6'6" player. But yeah, excellent finish. Knows how to, you know, plays within herself in a wonderful way.
Pass just off. Wilson couldn't hunt it down, but it'll be Bendigo ball.
You know, and they're the pieces that make championship teams. You know, you can talk about the big 3 talent of Bendigo, of Melbourne Boomers in Tiff Mitchell, Kayla George and Christy Wallace, but the complementary pieces that are highly skilled, that play a great role, can step up in some games where needed or step in if there's injury. But that's part of the puzzle of putting together a championship roster.
Certainly. Crucial cog for Melbourne when you've got the likes of Wallace, George and Mitchell, who are such great scorers in this league. And denied by Nelson Adota. And that's something else she does well. Second in the league in blocks per game.
And again, uses her length exceptionally well. You know, timed it well, maintained space with her body, came in late with the blocking arm. She clearly gave space to the referees to see that there was no foul there. Excellent shot block ability.
Now the timeout. 40 points the margin here. Melbourne 98, Bendigo 58. And you spoke earlier about that run home for the Bendigo Spirit. So the final game against the Perth Lynx, that has the potential to be crucial. Could it come down to that, Carrie, for the final spot?
Yeah, absolutely it could. I mean, you know, so much can happen in the, you know, come out of a mini break and then the run home to the finals with, you know, some teams playing 5 games, some playing 4. How many games have you got against the top group? You know, Melbourne have probably got one of the better run homes, and we say that, you know, and then coaches touch wood because, you know, 5 games remaining for Melbourne Boomers after this one. 3 away, 2 at home, and only 2 games against the top 4. You know, so you'd say they're positioned exceptionally well to really, you know, make a run, and they've made a statement today, but make a run at that, holding that top spot on the ladder. The minute you say that, though, anything can happen. You know, teams have got players coming back from injury. You know, we've seen injuries, big injuries happen to players that can swing a roster and swing a team just like that. So, look, anything can happen, but Melbourne certainly have put on a show today and made a statement about their eyes on a championship.
We're on. Inbounds to Wilson. Got to go. Shot clock expires. Melbourne with the rock. Brewster ahead to Nelson Adota. Mid-range 2, little off. The Boomers do look 6 minutes remaining in this ball game in pole position. As Lady for 3. Pole position, of course, for the top spot. Certainly in this ball game, that's for sure. 38 points.
Yeah, it's been a domination.
Wallace for 3. Drops it home. 20 points for Christy Wallace.
Wow.
Lost for words, aren't we, Carrie?
I mean, you know, we can repeat ourselves, I'm sure, but boy, oh boy.
Yes.
They cannot miss. Their clip is unbelievable.
13 of 18 from 3. Here's Lady. Werung. Just a little left. Nelson Adota's there. Abby Werung, the sole Bendigo player in double figures today, with 17.
Brewster called for a travel. She's not happy about it.
And the Boomers will go to top spot to conclude round 13 with a victory here. Tiebreaker's over Bendigo now, assuming this one continues the way it is, Carrie.
Yeah, and they're positioned really well. They've got Melbourne Boomers have done a great job, particularly early in the season. They've got the head-to-head over Townsville. They're 2-0 in that series. They've got the head-to-head over Perth, 2-0 in that series. They don't have the head-to-head against Southside, 0-2 in that one. But, you know, they get this one today. That's 3 of the top 4 or 3 of the top 5 that they have the split on. So that's critical in this run home to the finals, that they know should there be tied up in a 2 or 3 way tie for a position on the ladder, that they're positioned really well with the splits they have in the head-to-head clashes.
Travel call goes against Maley. Going over number 16 for the Spirit.
Gee, it's been a tough night out for Annalee Maley, last year's MVP. A talent, a rebounding talent, a scoring talent. She just hasn't been able to find the bottom of the bucket tonight.
Something Melbourne has done really well. They've kept Maley to just the 5 boards in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 of 13 from the field. And she has 9 points, but as you've said, you know, 7 of her 9 are from the free throw line.
Last time Maley was held to low rebounding figures, she bounced back with a 24 rebound outing against the Lightning.
Yeah, look out for the next opponent for Bendigo. This team's going to come out wounded, injured, hungry.
It'll be in Geelong next weekend against the Flyers for the Spirit. Doesn't get any easier, that's for sure. Into Nelson Adota. Wallace, turnover. Mitchell just mishandled. Werung. Slowed up by Levy. And Ali Wilson for three.
Breathed a little sigh of relief. Yes, I've made one in her 200th game, Ali Wilson. One she may not want to remember.
And probably be one of the better contributors today for the Spirit. I mean, 12 points, 2 triples.
Yeah, she's been solid. They just, you know, it's just all been about the Melbourne Boomers.
Certainly has. Nelson Adoda just missing on the layup. She'll go, I believe, to the free throw line. Good outing for her, approaching in on a double-double. Has 5 dimes as well, Nelson Adoda.
Yeah, she's been impressive on the boards. You know, saw her block shot earlier. She just plays within herself and plays a great role for this Melbourne Boomers team.
Foul indeed before the shot. Ortlup's back out there. And Lily Carmody as well with her first minutes of the Arvo. Is Brewster. Bench unit getting a run for the Boomers. Contested 2. Brown crashing the glass. Lady wasting no time. Wilson will fire again. Boomers ball.
Yeah, the benches will get a chance to play here, both coaches. This last 3.5 minutes to let their youngsters play, get some quality minutes.
Time out on the floor. Remains a 38-point ball game. Boomers 101, the season high 118. Now looking a little bit out of reach, Carrie, as we see the benches come into action. Kayla George, we assume her afternoon probably done. 32 minutes played, 27 points, 8 boards. What a ball game for her. Christy Wallace has 20 points as well. And Tiff Mitchell had 14 at the half. And she has 14 in the ball game as well to this point.
Yeah, I think you're right. That 120 points is probably a little bit out of reach. But having said that, you know, the bench players from the Melbourne Boomers can hit the three. We've seen a few of them step up and hit some big shots. But it's that field goal percentage has been phenomenal for them. Still shooting at 68% from the field. 72% from the three-point line. 13 of 18 shooting. That is outrageous shooting.
40 numbers. Remarkable. Chris Lucas. Well, he's about to notch up win number 199. And the Boomers will play for his 200th in round 14. The reigning champions flexing their muscle here at the Boombox. Brown. Now the triple. Ortlup. Not that time. Maley will rebound and go. Puts it on the deck. Finds Froling. No, picked off. Lou Brown with a D.
Yeah, look, to Bendigo's credit, they haven't quit. They're still playing with intensity. There's still intent there, but they've just come up against a team that are red hot, that cannot miss, that are executing, playing well together. Again, the cutting action, the reads from the Melbourne Boomers, particularly off that high post feeder position.
Interesting that the Spirit have opted with all of their 5 starters here to finish this game. As Maley finds Brown out of position.
Yep, Coach Kennedy Kariyama clearly wants to see if they can execute. He's, you know, come out of a timeout, see if they can do a few things that he wants to take into the next game.
Chance to get some confidence back. The Boomers, they'll have the week off with the FIBA window. Maley will return to the free throw line. She's 7 of 11 there this afternoon.
Yeah, it hasn't been her best night out. We can see the frustration in a lot of her actions. Her effort's still there, but you know, having said that, come up with a team like Melbourne Boomers, they also don't make it easy for you. You know, when you get as good as she is, and when teams know that you're going to go at every single board and every single play, that also becomes a focus of how they have to defend you. So it's, you know, people are extremely focused on your talent areas, and that's certainly, you know, a tough ask for most teams. How do you limit Annalee Maley on the boards?
May well be her afternoon done. Annalee Maley, as she takes to the bench. Ortlup, running point for the Boomers. Good child. Burrows as well, out there for her first minutes. 3 ball goes for Burrows.
Is there not a player on the Melbourne Boomers team that's hit a field goal this afternoon? My goodness.
Sophie Burrows joins the party.
Sub everyone in. Put the doctor in. They'll hit a 3. Put the team manager, the drinks lady in. She'll hit a 3.
Nelson Adoda slicing through. Great passing from Ortler. 41 points. They extend the lead to. Carmody defending Levy. Down the lane. Big block from Nelson Adoda. Straight out to Goodchild. They've got the numbers. Burrows in transition. Wilson with the foul.
What a block. And there's a highlight reel. Her timing is sensational on the block. Shot blocking ability. Just waits on it. Levy thinks, oh, this is like an under 12 layup drill. No, it's not. Boom.
And a well-placed denial of that straight out for the runners in transition.
Yeah, that's the class of the great shot blockers. If we talk about great shot blockers, the GOAT, Lauren Jackson, one of the country's greatest shot blockers. Her ability to block shots and keep the ball in play. You know, it's block it, turf it out of bounds, the other team get a base out of bounds possession, block it, keep it in possession, tap it to one of your own teammates. That's true shot blocking ability.
Burrows takes care of business. Some of this young bench unit for Melbourne extending the lead here. Levy assessing into the corner. McLean makes it. Her second 3, Cassidy McLean. Burrows. Sophie Burrows. Good child. Pulls up for 2. McLean on the box out. Now Lacandro. Hand off to Werung. Levy. Davidson let her have it. And Burrows pulls it down. Now Sophie Burrows. Carmody finds Davidson at the block. Hand off to Paige. Burrows. 7 seconds. Working on Lacandro. Davidson off the window. Falls down to Sophie Burrows for 2.
Falls in their lap. You get to the right spot. You get lucky as a rebounder.
So the Boomers now will have quite a long layoff carry. Their next game will be on the 15th of Feb, obviously, with the FIBA window. Comes up against the Townsville Fire at the Townsville Entertainment Centre. So that very well could be first versus second on the table, depending on results prior.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and I think for them, you know, to go into this break with such a confidence-boosting win, you know, playing well, shooting on fire, everyone involved, and a chance for them, certainly with, you know, the injury to Mia Murray, you know, it gives them time to perhaps, I'm not sure what the time frame is on her injury, but time to reintegrate her if she's ready, time to rest her further if she needs. But, you know, great opportunity to go in and get, you know, Coach Chris Lucas give his team a few days off, get them really refreshed mentally, and then come back and have a great week's preparation for that contest that, you know, everyone matters now.
Lacandro at the line. Goes 2 of 2, and that's her first points of her WNBL career. Congratulations to her. H. Burrows. Brewster on the perimeter. Good child's got 15 in the ball game. Brewster in the post. Muscles at home. 1 to come.
Everyone involved. Entire bench on.
So it looks like they'll fall just short of the season high 118, the Southside Flyers set. Clearly, though, the Boomers' highest score of the season. 65% field goal percentage on the ball game for Melbourne.
Yeah, massive. You know, we've seen that probably dip a little bit now that both teams have their entire benches on. All due respect to the benches, I can say that. I was a benchy. All due respect to them, but, you know, you're a benchy for a reason. You often don't shoot a clip at the same clip that the stars and the starters do.
It's been a number that's just refused to regress for Melbourne. Goodchild again for 3.
She said, hang on a second, us benchies can shoot.
She equals her
She certainly can.
6 of 6 performance earlier in the season against Adelaide. She's done it again.
And she came out with some big ones to really push the momentum further.
Porter for 3. Lacandro's there, right on the final buzzer, and it counts, so that'll do it. Final score, Melbourne Boomers 115 defeat the Bendigo Spirit 72 to secure the season series here at the Boombox. One of the most clinical performances we've seen this season in the Cygnett WNBL, Carrie.
Yeah, look, I mean, as you say, it was clinical. The defence in particular set the standard. Their ability to plug it in, pack it in. Everything that Bendigo had early was contested, other than some deep threes. At the other end of the floor, their execution was on song. You know, we see that lady, that champion, Kayla George, shot the 3, made passes on numerous occasions. I'm going to say she gave Christy Wallace 10 points on basket cuts from her feeding. They were just, they're playing as a team. They understand spacing, they understand their system. They've got a desperation and a fire to win. They had a point to prove against this Bendigo team, and they came out and did that.
They look extremely well drilled, Melbourne. And a complete contrast to the last time these two teams met a fortnight ago at this very venue. Bendigo prevailed by 5. Feels like a lifetime ago at this point.
Yeah, it does. And look, there would have been a fire in Melbourne Boomers Bendigo, fire in their belly from that last contest, feeling that they gave that one away. As we said, the head-to-head was on the line tonight. This game was critical in terms of taking back top spot, getting another split in the head-to-head against a top 4 team. So they're really positioning themselves well for this run home to the playoffs.
Boomers players very happy with the performance in front of their home crowds. Last exchange between Madgen and George. 27 points Kayla George had, led the way. Christy Wallace with 20. Tiff Mitchell had 14 at the half. Nelson Adoda, a great game for her as well. 14 points, 7 of 9 shooting. A couple of denials. And Mila Goodchild, once again, she was 6 of 6 from 3 for 18 points. Melbourne as a team shot 15 of 22 from 3. There's the stats on your screen now.
Yeah, unbelievable shooting. I mean, that was a shooting clinic. And as we said, throughout the game, they could have subbed anyone in and they'll hit a big shot. Rattle it in, swish it in, but that was the difference. I mean, Bendigo couldn't get a stop. They were just shooting the ball at such high clip, and once they got their eye in. But I've got to say, the early part of the contest, it was all about the movement that Melbourne Boomers had and their ability to get the ball inside to cutters. That really set them apart. And as we see there, they just dominated every category. 54 points in the paint. Off penetrations, off basket cuts, off putbacks. It was a basketball clinic, and that one, Chris Lucas will want to pull out some highlights for his team on that, on some of the things they did exceptionally well.
It led from go to woe, the Melbourne Boomers this afternoon, to prevail by 43 and retake top spot in the Cygnett WNBL over the Townsville Fire, and that will set up a 1v2 showdown in their next game, the Boomers. Week off next week with the FIBA window, but that game at the Townsville Entertainment Centre, make sure you have your sets tuned to it. That is going to be absolutely terrific on ESPN as well. I believe game of the week, Carrie.
Yeah, that one will be an absolute ripper. We saw, Townsville are on a tear. They've got players that can shoot the hell out of the ball. They've got players you'd imagine ready to come back in. Steph Reed might be closer to full fitness with her back injury. Nicholson back into them. That one is going to be entertaining, to say the least.
Sure is. Some great highlights in this contest for Melbourne. Tiff Mitchell was great running downhill. The shooting, as we spoke of throughout, terrific. Ali Wilson in her 200th game had 12 points. A couple of triples. Abby Werung, really the sole standout, if you like, for Bendigo with 17 in what was otherwise a very tough afternoon. And I tell you what, they will be looking forward to the return of Kelsey Griffin.
Yeah, that they will. It's, and we can't not discuss that. Star play for them, leadership, score ability, rebound ability. But, on the other side of the ledger, Melbourne Boomers, we saw, in her street clothes, and it was on the commentary last night, Tess Madgen, they're without her for the season, and without Mia Murray, one of their other veterans who's been in great form. So they're down on talent too. Round
14 kicks off next weekend, Saturday night. Bendigo and Southside in Geelong as well. That game rescheduled from earlier in the season, back from November 19. That's going to be terrific. And then it all kicks off Wednesday with Townsville and Melbourne, as we mentioned. And that is going to be 4 days of bumper hoops through to Sunday. Some big games there. Southside Perth, Townsville Bendigo as well. The Cygnett WNBL heating up towards finals, Carrie.
It is. I mean, and look, if we look at this round alone, other than the blowout, I mean, who would have predicted the blowout today? No one would have predicted that. We've had overtime games, buzzer-beating games, 1 point in the stretch, crowd-breaking games. It's been a wonderful round of WNBL, and we're going to have many more of those in this run home to the WNBL playoffs.
Thank you very much for joining us. The Boomers, with scintillating form, have prevailed here this afternoon at the Boombox. Liam Ellison, Carrie Graff to bring it to you. Thank you very much for joining us for the Cygnett WNBL.